Let me begin with the industrial and IT revolution first. And if I may take you all back in time to 1805, right, 200 years back. 200 years back, India used to contribute 20% of the world's GDP. A fifth of the world's GDP was contributed from India. To our eternal regret, we missed the Industrial Revolution. And for the next 200 years, 10 generations of Indians went without the privileges of a developed economy. From 20% of the world's GDP, we shrank and became negligible. We were a rounding off error as far as contribution to the world GDP was concerned. That was the devastating impact of missing the Industrial Revolution. Incredibly, we almost missed the information technology revolution as well. Some of you sitting in the audience would recollect how in the mid-1980s and even early 90s, there used to be these dharnas all over our country against information technology deployment and adoption in the country. But better sense prevailed. Thankfully, better sense prevailed. And just as the IT engine was leaving the railway station, we managed to latch on to the last bandwagon. And slowly, through the years, we managed to move up from the last bogie to the second last, and right up to the front. So much to say that today, we're in pole position when it comes to IT. How is this related to Dell? Around the same time that IT was being deployed in India, in the mid-80s, a young 18-year-old student who was pursuing his engineering degree at the University of Austin had a dramatic idea that would revolutionize IT for years and decades to come. That young engineer figured out that if he could put together a device and sell it directly to customers, cutting out a large number of distributors, mid-distributors, etc., he could still make a profit and deliver great value to customers. It was all about one man's fired-up imagination, 18-year-old, to challenge the status quo of Big Blue, the hegemony they had established in the IT space, and he challenged it, challenged the status quo. Fast forward another 10 years, when the mainframes, the DECs, the UNIVACs of the world were beginning their slow but certain demise, he figured out, the same guy who was about 28 years old, figured out that we have to go after the x86 standards-based servers, because more and more computing power could now be executed not by mainframes, but by x86 servers as well. Fast forward, 2007, the same person, who's about 45 years old, decided that he is going to repeat the success story with storage. And at every stage of our evolution, we have believed in challenging the status quo to deliver great value to our customers. Now let me share with you a few data points. We are on the verge of a digital data explosion. In fact, we're going through this as we speak. Consider this. In 2006, we had 161 exabytes of data that were generated online, okay, in 1 year. Now to give you and share with you a sense of what this means, 3 million times multiplied by the total number of books, the information contained in books ever known to mankind, you multiply that by 3 million times and you get to a figure of 161 exabytes. Fast forward 4 years, the figure went up 6 times. 6 times, ladies and gentlemen, and they had to invent a word for that, zettabytes. And that was not enough. Basis current projections, 2010 to 2015, it's going to go up 8-fold. So the bottom line here is, if you look at it, the digital data explosion is here to stay. And when you see something go up 50 times in a span of 9 years, that really is in line with Alvin Toffler's theory, future shock, where he talks about if you plot this data on any graph, the graph will leap out of the page. And this is exactly what we are living through. Now, what is this being driven by? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we continue to grow our storage the way we have been doing so traditionally and keep on investing in hard disks, hard drives, we will soon have to be spending billions of dollars on just hard disks and hard drives. The theme of this presentation is the traditional way versus the smart and modern way. And the traditional way, the status quo, cannot continue because no one has the wherewithal to keep on growing exponentially the storage or the databases that are required to run these engines. Which brings me to the second point. This is the second data point. And this is from the Wall Street Journal. More devices will be connected in the next 5 years to corporate networks than in the previous 15 years. Now, sit back and pause, please, and think, what does this mean for us? This means we will not only see notebooks, desktops, printers hooked up to the network, we will see mobile devices, bring your own devices, God knows which other devices would be invented in the future. And all these would need to be hooked up onto corporate or corporate networks across the world. Again, the graph would leap out of the page. The third data point, I mean, very clearly, applications are moving to the cloud. Whether you love it or hate it, the cloud is here to stay. And the reason why we believe the cloud will be a transformation is because of economies of scale. So you have cloud, the more people get hooked onto the cloud, the lower the cost, the incremental cost of delivering the service, the more enticing it becomes for customers. So the cloud is absolutely here to stay. Now, what does this mean for all of us? It means that IT is becoming too complex. You have this huge explosion of data storage. You have a plethora of network devices that are getting hooked on. New IT responsibilities, and you have to plan for these monumental changes that take place every 6 months or so. Now, all this is happening, but the budgets are not growing exponentially. So clearly, the guidance is we need to do more with less. And here I would like to quote directly from one of the interviews that McKinsey had conducted. And this is with a Fortune 100 CIO, and I quote him. He said, "The demand for data centers and storage has grown so much faster than I planned that I now have an 80 million deficit in my budget. We're in the process of looking at all options to reduce the growth rate." If I could leave just one message from this entire presentation, it is this: that please do not underestimate your requirement for storage and the smart way of building more storage, building storage capacity to sustain your business and to grow it further. Finally, summarizing, change is inevitable. And there are these mega trends that are driving all these challenges, i.e., data explosion. How do I manage so much data and still gain business insights? You saw the figures, mind-boggling. Connected devices. How do I make sure that my employees, my customers have ubiquitous access to all the applications that are needed for them to perform? Virtualization and cloud. How do I consolidate, simplify, and flex up my business? Converged data center. How do I get a better return on investment on my technology infrastructure? And finally, everyone's talking about emerging markets. How do I use technology to grow my business? And I will be happy to share with you a couple of examples and success stories right from India which talk about the all-inclusive agenda that Mr. Satpathy was talking about. Now, customers are faced with some very, very serious decisions. And this is true for all of us. You need to take a choice, make a choice, whether you're going to go with the existing legacy systems, the old way of building network capacity and compute capacity, or would you go with open, affordable, and capable solutions? And we all know what monopolies have done to our country. We all know how bad monopolies are for business. And would you rather stick to a company which has open standards or somebody that tries to lock you in and charges a fortune and an arm and a leg for a simple change to a flat file or a SQL command for business continuity? That's the choice our customers need to make, and we can help our customers with that. Okay. The bottom line is the status quo is not sustainable. The demands on IT continue to expand. Budgets do not grow exponentially. Strategic investments are limited to running the business, and outcomes and ROIs are neither adequate nor predictable. But bottom line, status quo is not sustainable. Fortunately, we have companies like Dell who are absolutely here with a mission. And our mission, and I'll quote this, and our mission is delivering technology solutions to enable people everywhere to grow and thrive. And this is our mission statement. Let me give you a couple of examples. We were thrilled just a couple of weeks back. My colleague had the privilege of being in Kerala, where the backward classes commission with the Chief Minister of Kerala, and he was giving those end-user compute devices to these backward classes children, and it was a matter of great pride for us to be associated with that, the inclusive agenda that Mr. Satpathy had talked about. Second, it's a matter of great pride that we will soon have police stations in the country where the FIRs would be input into computers so that they can be a track and a locking device to make sure when the FIR was logged, when was it updated. I mean, these are things that are happening as we speak in the country. And I think it's a privilege to be associated with these projects because you see the difference that your day-to-day work is making to the development of the country. Second piece, from the mission. Moving on, it's always good to take the blessings of holy people before you start on an overall agenda. And this was from a journalist friend of ours. This is at your service, Dell at your service at the Mahakumbh Mela at Prayagraj in Allahabad. And here we had a journalist friend of ours who clicked a photograph and realized that there were sadhus who were all bunching around an end-user compute device from Dell. So the ubiquitous approach, it's even reached the Mahakumbh. Now let me pause and just reflect. In this era and noise about doom and gloom about our country, this is one slide that really excites us. And this is from the US Census. And this is a part of our strategy deck. And I thought it would be good to share this with you. Why are we so focused on India? And why do we have 26,000 of the 100,000 people that we have worldwide based out of India? Why do we have such a huge R&D setup in India, a huge factory and other investments which I will talk about? It's because of this. The future is bright and it is sustainable. And here's the reason why. If you would look at this map of the world, you would see the surplus countries, surplus from labor standpoint. So this is human labor available, trained labor available to execute in the working age group, to execute their responsibilities. Now, you would notice in India, we would have the projection by the US Census Bureau is that by 2020, India will have a surplus of 47 million professionals, right? 47 million. If we can somehow help them to build skill, scale, and speed, we can get them to cover the shortfall for the entire world. And again, after 200 years, we can go back to being where we were in 1805. Probably 15–20% of the world's GDP. It is not beyond the realm of possibility. The second data point I wanted to call out here is the huge labor surplus in India could be trained and deployed to meet the entire world's IT requirement. And finally, if I would like to draw your attention to the table at the bottom, okay, this doesn't work, but the table at the bottom, if you look at the demographics, by 2020, amongst all these countries, we will have 1 out of every 3 Indians below the age of about 35. 33% of our population, 1 out of 3 Indians will still be young, very, very young. Compared to Japan, where they'll have 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 only talent available. Think what this will entail in the world economy. You will have people in Japan who are growing faster than the young people who are joining the workforce. We, on the contrary, will have a problem of plenty. We will have 1/3 of our population below the age of 33. And that is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to invest in India, despite the small-term challenges that we see once in a while. Now, from the mission statement to why we are here, on our commitment, our strategic intent is clear. And this might seem to be a bit of a paradox. But when we started our strategic transformation in 2007, and I had the privilege of being in the region and seeing how these things are actually firmed up and thought about, our objective was extremely simple. The global IT capex spend is about $1.8 trillion. Our avowed objective was to reduce the IT capex spend by $200 billion and give it back to the industry to drive innovation. The traditional versus the modern approach. And as soon as we laid this out, we went and bought 26 companies to support that transformation for our customers. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So from mission to strategic objective to this. Complexity, legacy, proprietary systems stifle innovation. All of us in our professional lives would have been frustrated by incidents where you have to pay millions of dollars to make small changes to your application. Why is that? Because it is controlled by just 1 or 2 key players around the world. Again, monopolistic, closed, proprietary, legacy. These words need to be banished because that's what stifles innovation. Let me share with you an example from Dell, a $60 billion company. We changed our entire sales and order intake process. Why? Because we had one company that was doing this for Dell, and whenever we had to add a new product or a new service or a new solution, write a few additional commands or tables, we were charged millions of dollars. So we decided to throw the baby out with the bathtub, and we decided to build an application that is based on open, affordable, and capable solutions. What this does is, and what this has done for Dell as well, is you can flip the equation the other way around. If you can spend a very, very small portion of your IT spend on keeping the light switched on, you free up more and more money for innovation. Now, all this is good, but how about India and the execution of the strategy on the ground? And this is a series of 3 or 4 slides which are titled "At Your Service in India." The first things first, we have a factory at Sri Perumbudur to serve all our Indian customers. 1 million plus units are manufactured and delivered every year from our India facility. And it's not only India now. We have started exporting to the Middle East, which is a matter of immense gratification for all of us, because in the 80s we used to go to the Middle East to buy these white goods and bring them back to the country. But now it's the other way around. We are exporting made in India notebooks, desktops, servers to the Middle East, and very soon we'll be exporting them to Africa and Eastern Europe as well. Second, an extensive services network across the country. We support 51,000 PIN code service areas. So right from east to west, north to south, we can support pin code service areas basis strict SLAs, where we can give you that support. Moving on, none of this is complete without execution bearing the customer's interests in mind. At Dell, we refer to this at your service with customer feel. And let me take a couple of minutes to talk about this. The leadership team drives the focus towards monthly, weekly, daily, and if necessary, up to the hour metrics that impact customer satisfaction and customer revenues. Drive the execution through to best-of-breed process discipline, making it modular, scalable, and predictable for our customers. Driving execution through to excellence, thereby gaining deep, very deep domain knowledge. Once that is done, after piloting and testing this in certain select geographies of the world, a global launch, thereby giving our customers the global competitive edge. Let me share with you an example of how this was done. There's a 12th generation servers which consume a fraction of the power that our previous generation of servers used to consume. We're very high on energy sustainability and reducing the carbon footprint. Very, very high on that. We went back to 7,800 customers and said, what is your wish list? What would you like to see in a Dell-built server across all segments? 7,800. It involved having the humility to accept what they didn't like in our previous generation. We brought in all that feedback through the 1.5 million customer connects that we have per day. We brought that feedback back into the cooperation and designed this product and solution for all our customers. This is the power of feel. And everywhere, every acquisition that we make in service of our customers, we adopt the principle of customer feel. Now, the customer-focused strategy is pretty straightforward, creating efficient enterprise solutions to serve our customers, building the most flexible value chain to serve our customers, and third piece in today's scenario, accelerating our online leadership to strengthen customer intimacy. Now, that was at your service. Now, we are flexing it up one more, from at your service to at your accelerated service. Why? Because we have made 26 acquisitions over the past 5.5 years directly to directly impact the total cost of ownership and challenge the status quo. Challenge the way networks have been built, whether it's networking, whether it's related to fault management, performance management, remote infrastructure management, everything. We're going and acquiring these companies that give our customers the cutting edge to grow their IT solutions and needs the smart way versus the traditional way. And the great thing is we have no legacy to protect. We have no dinosaurs, no mainframes to protect. We are absolutely committed to open, affordable, and capable solutions for our customers. Finally, and this is the last slide before I come to the summary, what does success look like? And this is exactly what is encapsulated in this slide. The y-axis is efficiency, the x-axis is time. And you would see very clearly proprietary systems in the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see proprietary systems. So with the passage of time, proprietary systems are a real pain for any business. They're expensive, very, very clumsy, and closed, and do not allow for any innovation. On the contrary, if you go in with open, capable, and affordable solutions, you can see the benefits. And these are just some of the benefits that we have helped customers, both in India as well as the rest of the world. Now let me give you an example, a couple of examples. System administration. Leveraging our expertise in fault management, remote infrastructure management, configuration management. From 300 servers per admin, we can now flex it up 10 times for our customers. Think of the savings. From one admin, 300 servers, we have live cases where we have flexed that up 10 times. Storage costs. we have taken them down by 80%. By 80%. By leveraging fluid architecture, automated data tiering. Simple. Not the traditional way of adding more and more hard disk drives to dinosaurs, consuming more and more energy, consuming more and more footprint. No, the smart way of automated data tiering so that the data that you don't use can be stored in very, very cheap devices. And the devices that you need for your immediate access, obviously those you could keep, the solid state drives you could keep very close to your business and the workflows. Third piece, network costs. All along in networks, we have seen a performance improvement of almost 60 to 70% for some of our key customers. Now, how is that possible? Because we believe it is not fair to charge customers for a proprietary cable for last mile access. There are a large number of networking companies, unfortunately, out in the world who are doing that and have been continuing to do that for several years. So in comes Dell, challenges the status quo and says, no, it should be open, affordable, and capable. And if a cable is available for 100 rupees, there's no reason why you should sell it 10 times the price, just because it's proprietary or monopolistic. And that's the reason why we have, by leveraging the flexible distributed core and standard switching components, non-proprietary switching protocols, we have managed to reduce the total cost of ownership for customers in the network domain. And my colleague has a session, I believe, tomorrow. So please keep an eye for that, where he will take you through some of these pretty dramatic cost reductions and total cost of ownership benefits that you could get as a result of this new networking technology. And finally, utilization from 20% to 60%. These are all live cases, and we'll be very happy to help you any way we can in line with our objectives. Finally, in conclusion, what we've just covered in the last 25 minutes is there are clearly mega trends that we are living through today. Digital data explosion, growing by 50 times over a time frame of just 9 years, and it is likely to continue growing exponentially. My one request to you is from this session, if there's anything you could take away, it's this. Please be very careful about your storage requirements and the smart way versus the traditional way of growing them. Second, love it or hate it, the cloud is here to stay, and we're seeing a very good uptick. In fact, there are some analysts who are saying that it'll almost be like power utility. No one builds their own power plant. At some stage, it's IT compute is going to move towards that direction. Second key point we covered was complexity is really stifling innovation. And this is because of closed proprietary legacy systems versus simplicity and openness that drives innovation, returning money back to the business, to our customers, to drive innovation in their own respective areas. Finally, we covered Dell at your service, the mission, our strategic objectives, and the customer feel, focus, execution, excellence, and leadership. And finally, on a positive note, we wrapped up by saying what success looks like across 4 or 5 different IT functions, what success looks like for many of our customers. On that positive note, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much. All the best.